So you may be wondering why there are floating brakes in my garage. And the only explanation to that would be that we are doing a Brembo swap on my Focus ST. This is a set of Focus RS Brembos that I got for a good deal on Facebook. You can see why I got them for a good deal. And the reason they're hanging is because I'm going to be painting them today. I'm going to paint them the OEM RS blue color. I got these for 200 bucks and they came with steel braided lines, so it was a good deal. I'm pretty sure the previous person who had these on a Focus, they bought the Focus RS Brembos and they bought them unpainted and then painted them red. And I do have the red color scheme going on now, and I'm going to switch it up because I'm a little tired of it. So I'm going to start adding some blue in there. I've explained that in some of my previous videos, but these need to be cleaned, and I got some brake cleaner and wire brushes and stuff, and I'm going to clean them off really good and then tape them off, and then we will be able to paint them. What I'm using to paint them, I went to the auto store, I got some brake cleaner, and then also have some of this engine enamel primer. It should work for brakes. I'm going to use that first because I don't want to strip all the red paint. So this should get us a nice even finish from the blue. And then here's the blue I'm using. It's Rust-Oleum engine enamel. It's the closest I could get to the RS blue. It's a little darker, but it'll have to do. And then I have some clear caliper paint clear coat. So there's that. And then I have these high heat resistant Brembo stickers. So these should also work. I'm going to try to put them on before the clear, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not really sure how that'll work just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and clean them off and get everything taped off, and then we can move forward with the actual installation, which will probably be several days from now. Here is the part number for the Mazda 5 rear brackets that I have. That's these right here. They're also getting painted blue, and then the actual caliper I'm keeping from the ST that's on there now. It's red, but we'll paint it whenever the car's apart and I'm actually doing the brake job. But this allows you, it's a bigger bracket that fits on a Focus ST, and it allows you to run the RS rotor and pads in the rear, and it kind of helps out with that brake bias of just adding the big fat Brembos in the front and then not changing the rear. So that's why I bought these. I'm pretty sure I ordered these off of eBay. That's the cheapest place I could find them. And I'm going to paint them blue, and then we'll put them on whenever. I'll show you more in depth on the installation. But that was the part number because it was a little hard to find, and I want to actually show you how to do every little part of this in this video, because some of the other videos and forum explanations and stuff like that are a little confusing, but it shouldn't be too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and prep everything for paint. So it is finally install day, and all of the parts are painted other than the center of the rear caliper, which I'm going to take this wheel, the rear wheels off first and get those painted so they will be dried by the time the fronts are done and we can do the installation. As far as everything you need, these are the two Mazda 5 rear caliper brackets that have been painted. You can see it says 16 plus Ford Motor Company on there. And then I showed the part number earlier for those. Here are the painted Brembos with the stickers on them. These are, the front rotors are Motorcraft OEM Focus RS front rotors, and then these are another brand off of Rock Auto, but they match. So it was just whatever was cheaper. And then I ended up going with the EBC yellow pads, and I ordered the pads for a Focus RS since we are upgrading to Focus RS rear rotors and the bigger bracket. And then we have Motul 600 racing brake fluid, and then we have Goodrich steel braided lines for the front, and then also a manual vacuum pump to bleed the brakes. And then this is a rebuild kit for the RS, just the hardware for putting in the new pads and stuff. And then this little container here is the little caps, the little black caps that go on the bleeder valves right there on the brakes, because since I bought mine used, it didn't have them. So I went ahead and bought those, and we'll put new ones of those on there when we're done with the installation. So I'm going to go ahead and get it jacked up and get all the wheels off, and then we'll start with the installation. Okay, so to remove the rear caliper, you'll take the two caps off of these little black pieces here and use a 7mm Allen wrench to take those off. And then after that, you will have, you can see right through there on the hub, you'll have two bolts there that you'll need to remove to get the actual bracket off. So I got the rear ones removed. It was really easy. It's just a 13mm bolt was the one that holds the bracket on, I believe. Yeah, it's a 13mm bolt, and I got them both off. Super easy, just pull them off, and then I'm painting the rear caliper now. I just put the last coat of clear coat on, so now I'm going to move on to the fronts while that dries. And also, FYI, on the rear, you have to spin them and push them in to get the caliper to go in due to the parking brake. So when you're putting on a thicker pad, you're going to need to do that. So you can buy a better tool than this, but I've been able to get this to work before. So whenever we get to that point, I'm going to show you how this caliper retraction tool works. And so now it's time to get started on the front brakes. So I'm just going to remove them. It's the same process back here. You'll just have two bolts. I believe on the front they're 18mm. And then we're going to have to remove the lines and all that, which that right there is an 8mm bolt. And I also just realized that my white line end links are rubbing on the car for some reason. So I'm going to take this off and see if I can move it in a little bit with like a different washer or something. And I'm also going to remove these metal pieces because they're heavy and serve no purpose. So I'm going to get rid of those, and I'm going to go ahead and get the front calipers off, and then we will be able to get started on getting the Brembos and new lines on, and then I got to figure out how to bleed the brake fluid and do all that stuff. So the process for the front is pretty similar. I already just used a flathead to take that spring out there, and then from the back you can see it still has the little rubber caps you remove, and remove those to take the actual caliper out. And then you've got two bolts back there to take those off, and you have a little bit more room here in the front. And then we just got to remove the brake line from the hard line over here. So we'll use a wrench to take this nut off here, and then there's a little retainer clip under here, and we'll pop that off. And then we can move on to swapping the Brembo brake over, and then also the Goodrich steel braided lines that will go through here. And also, like I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and remove these metal things here and look at moving the end links, because the end links are not rubbing on the left front, but they are on the right front. So I'm wondering if I have a alignment issue with my camber that I'll need to figure out, and I'll probably go get it aligned after I get new tires anyways, after I'm doing all this work on it. And then this is an 8mm bolt here to get the brake line off of the coilover as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stock brake system all removed, and then we can move on to the Brembos. So all of the old stuff is removed. I just used, one of them was a 7/16 and the other was a 11/16 wrench to get the line off, and then it was just another 18mm, two 18mm bolts there to get the caliper off, and then the rotor came off super easily. So now we can test fit the Brembo. You can see mine will still fit with the splash shield there, but some STs have bigger splash shields that you'll need to trim in order for the Brembos to fit, so keep that in mind. Mine will still work, so I'm going to use the same OEM hardware and go ahead and get the Brembo bolted up, and then we will take the Goodrich line here, and then this end will just bolt in to the hard line, and then this will pop into the back of the Brembo there, and then I'll also just make sure to get this little piece bolted in there. And you can see I removed the piece from the sway bar here that was really heavy, and I'm probably just going to zip tie this loosely back so it doesn't hit the wheel, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, don't forget, you got to put the rotor on. I almost forgot about that, but yeah, I'm going to put the RS rotor on, so I'll go ahead and grab this. I'm going to have to put some brake clean on it though, so here's the RS rotor. It feels, you can see the size difference. It's a little bigger. It's also a little heavier, but I do like how the OEM ones are have this black powder coating on them so that you don't get like the rusty part there. So that's nice. But I'm going to go ahead and spray this off with brake cleaner and put it on, and then bolt on the Brembo, and then all I got to do is put in that line, and it'll be done. And then we just got to obviously do the rear and bleed them. But this is so far actually a little bit more of a easy job than I thought it would be. So I lied, mine actually doesn't fit because of this ring all the way around here. So I'm either going to try to hammer this back so that it doesn't hit the rotor, or just cut this little like lip off of here, and then the rotor will fit. But the caliper is not a problem as far as the splash shield fitment. So I just used these pliers and bent the splash shield back, and now the rotor fits perfectly and doesn't rub. And then now it's time to use these bolts. Make sure to use Loctite on these. You don't want your brakes coming loose. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this on, and we'll move forward. So now that the caliper and rotor are on there and bolted on, you can see I slid in one of the EBC pads, and I'll slide in the other, and then use this new rebuild kit here to put this clip on, and then this will bolt through there. And then I'll just pop these pins through, and then we'll be all good to go for these pads. And then I'll just put that line in right there, and then we got to move to the rear. So the driver's side front is all finished. You can see that's how the clip goes in there with the pins. Then I've got the brake line tightened down, and then that's tightened down to the hard line there. And then also tightened into the back of the caliper. And then the two mounting bolts are tightened down, and everything has Loctite in it. I don't love that the EBC yellow pad. I don't really know why they have to color code their pads, because I don't really like the yellow that you can just see pretty easily. But I assume that that will turn black as the brake dust gets on it, and then I'll only clean these. I figured with my wheels they're pretty open, so I'll just stick a detail brush through and clean off the brake dust every time I clean the car, because I have heard that these cause a lot of brake dust. But I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll move on to the rear, and I'll show you how to do the rear. So now on to the rear. The rotor's on, and the bracket, that's easy. Same thing as taking it off. But in order to push this piston in to fit the new thicker pad, you'll need one of these brake compressor tools. I just bought a cheap one. You can get some that fit these and spin them as you turn them, but I rented one from the auto store, and none of them fit this one. So what I do is I tighten this down so that it's pushing on it, and then I take a pipe wrench, and you'll fold the little cover down that seals the piston out from, you know, just the weather. You'll pull that down, and then you'll use a pipe wrench and twist it clockwise like this, just maybe like half a turn or so, and then tighten it some more, then turn it some more, tighten it more, and you just kind of keep going back and forth until the piston is compressed and you can fit the pads in, and then you'll just put it on like normal, and then put the Allen screws back in the back. So as you can see, the car is back on the ground with the brakes on, and they look so good. I love how they look. I'm glad I switched to the blue color to kind of switch up from the red that I had before. I am not going to show you how to bleed brakes, because clearly I do not know how to do it right. It took me like 5 tries before I could finally get decent pedal feel, and I just kept having issues with it. I ended up not even using that pump. It was stupid. I don't even think it worked. I think it's cheap and broken. But look up a video online on how to bleed brakes. There's a way to do it with ForeScan and the ABS module, but I don't know, I don't have forescan or the cables, so I did it another way, and I think I finally got it decent. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it for a test drive and bed the brakes in, and then we'll see how it stops, and then I'll finish off the video with that. So I went and bedded the brakes in, and they ended up feeling a lot better. After initially bedding them and they got really hot and started fading, I kind of thought that they didn't make much of an improvement, but then I let them cool down and went for another drive, and they feel really nice. I got the pedal feel to feel a lot better. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I had trouble bleeding the brakes, and I eventually figured it out because there's 2 bleed lines on the front brakes. So I bled the brakes 2 more times and it ended up feeling good. It locks up the tires super easily now, but my tires are also worn out, so once I get new ones, I imagine it will be better because your brakes are only as good as your tires. But I love how they look. They look super cool. I don't love the EBC yellow pads. I don't really love the yellow sticking out, so I kind of hope that that starts to fade when it gets brake dust on it. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. This was a little bit of a chaotic video. I don't really think I did a great job recording it, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it was a good upgrade since I got them for a good deal used. But yeah, overall I'm happy with it. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.